Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We're here today to talk about how to craft a protective injection well ordinance and how you can get involved at the municipal level to better protect your community. So we are from Protect PT. My name is Lauren, and I'm the environmental policy advocate for Protect PT. And Jim, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Jim Cirilano. I am the community advocate for Protect PT.
And so Protect PT, or Protect Penn Trafford, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to ensuring residents' safety, security, and quality of life by engaging in education and advocacy to protect the economic, environmental, and legal rights of people in Westmoreland and Allegheny counties. Since starting as a group of neighbors working together to protect their neighborhood from fracking in late 2014, Protect PT has now grown to a community-based organization with staff, volunteers, and members, and we operate now in southwestern PA more broadly. So our goals are to educate residents and local lawmakers with factual and important information so they may better protect themselves, empower residents to get involved in the local government process, which is especially pertinent for this presentation, and engaging our lawmakers directly at local meetings and hearings to ensure our rights are protected. So we're here today to talk about injection wells. And if you're not familiar with an injection well, unconventional drilling or fracking produces an enormous amount of wastewater, between 15 and 20 million gallons per well drilled, and this is almost always radioactive. It's a very big problem for the drillers, how to dispose of this toxic wastewater. And so one solution is to inject the radioactive wastewater at high pressures into conventional gas wells that are no longer productive. And this reintroduces hundreds of millions of gallons of wastewater back into the earth. Injection wells are regulated by both the EPA and the DEP. And up in the right corner, we have a photo of an injection well in Plumboro, PA, which is very close to where Protect PT operates. And so what's in this wastewater exactly? Oil and gas wastewater, in order to frack, you take water and they add different additives to it that are supposed to make it more effective at what it's supposed to do. So they'll add sand, they'll add surfactants, they'll add different chemicals to it because what they do with this water is they inject it deep into the earth and they use it to fracture rock. In our case, it would be usually the Marcellus Shale Formation or the Utica. And once the water fractures that rock, the oil and gas is able to flow out, they pull it back up, and they separate out their product. And so they're left over with this wastewater, and it's called brine or produced water. You might hear it by a few different names, and it contains all of those additives that they've put into it to make it more effective at fracking. And it also comes back up out of the earth contaminated with heavy metals um, and radioactivity. And just some of the chemicals that they'll include in this fracking wastewater are benzene, toluene, formaldehyde, and PFAS and PFOA type chemicals, and many that we don't know, because a lot of these chemicals are deemed proprietary by chemical manufacturing companies, and so they're not publicly disclosed. Sometimes even the fracking companies don't know all of the chemicals exactly that are in the fracking water that they're using. And so the wastewater becomes radioactive because of Pennsylvania's natural geology. The Marcellus Shale Formation is naturally radioactive and contains elements like radium. And so when that water is pumped into the ground to fracture the rock and extract oil and gas, it comes back up containing traces of that radioactive material. And we've got some pictures at the bottom showing you what this wastewater looks like. And then the image that says, "We want your brine," is a real billboard that's up in Westmoreland County. So why are injection wells so dangerous for a municipality? There's many different things that can go wrong here. You can see drinking water contamination through fluid migration. You can experience surface water contamination through migration of the wastewater into underground aquifers or streams, or it can resurface through underground mines or other abandoned conventional gas wells. If there's a spill or an accident when they're trucking the wastewater over to the injection well, now you have a very, very dangerous spill in the middle of your community. Injection wells are also notorious for causing seismic activity due to pressure changes. There's been a lot of minor earthquakes in different places that have happened due to injection well operations. You can see road degradation in your municipality from the heavy truck traffic of trucks continually going back and forth to the site. The radioactivity that's present in that wastewater has a half-life of thousands of years, so it's going to be around for not only the foreseeable future, but for sort of the inconceivable future, a future that's so long that we can't even fathom it. And you might also experience air quality and health impacts from off-gassing of tanks and truck emissions, because some of the chemicals and materials in this wastewater do give off air emissions. And so there's a lot that can go wrong here. They inject the water deep into the earth. But it doesn't always stay there. It very often has a tendency to go wrong. It can contaminate wells of residents, and it's very dangerous if any of that water is accidentally ingested. And so something that we really want to emphasize is that these facilities have no benefit to a municipality. Injection wells only cost the municipality and they generate no revenue while exposing residents to a multitude of hazards, including hazardous chemicals, VOCs, and radiation. This is essentially a dumping ground. It's essentially an underground landfill for their waste. And so now I wanted to look through some potential injection well sites in Westmoreland and Allegheny counties. Protect VT has developed this injection well threat map courtesy of our environmental science team. And I'm just going to click on this image right now, which is a clickable link. And I'm going to reshare my screen. Oh, looks like, okay, look good. Looks like that. Did that transfer, Jim? Can you see the map?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome how that worked out. So yeah, I just wanted to navigate around this map a little bit so that you all can see um, the full landscape of what we're working with. And so let me zoom out first so you can see the full scope of the state. Now our data is limited. We have data for Westmoreland and Allegheny counties, and that's about it. But one day we hope to expand this map further. However, all over the state, we do have the location of existing injection wells, which are these yellow icons that you see. And then all of these orange and blue icons, the orange are existing conventional wells that would be viable to be converted into an injection well. And the blue icons are abandoned wells. And so you can see there's a much denser concentration in Westmoreland County versus Allegheny. But there's countless wells here. And so there's very, very high potential for more injection wells to come to our area in the future. You can see it's incredibly dense, essentially peppered along most of these municipalities. And the purple municipalities, we'll see here, I can turn them off and on. Those are our injection well wins. So you can see which municipalities have already implemented a protective injection well ordinance. And that includes Trafford Borough, Penn Township, Murraysville, Plum Borough. I believe Upper Borough now is also holding a vote soon on their protective injection well ordinance that they've been working on. And then we also have the entirety of Fayette County, which is really incredible, has implemented a protective ordinance. You can see they have an injection well there, which is what prompted them to create that. And then also we have all the way up here, Little Clara Township in Potter County. They reached out to us to ask for assistance in developing a protective injection well ordinance. And we'll talk a little bit more about that story later on. But as you can see, this is why we believe working on this issue is so important because there is very high potential in a lot of these municipalities for an injection well to be placed in their community. And we think the best way to be prepared for this possibility is to get ahead of it and to be proactive by developing an ordinance before one is ever proposed or announced for your community. All right, I'm going to go back to our presentation. There we are. And I'm going to pass it over to Jim to talk about the importance of protective ordinances and what can happen when a community doesn't have one.
So local government is governed by the ordinances that it passes. Every municipality has a local government. Sometimes they're called commissioners, sometimes they're called supervisors, sometimes they are called different things. But Pennsylvania law, the state law, provides that all municipalities must allow all legal uses of property somewhere within the boundaries of the municipality. So, because things like adult bookstores are a legal use in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court determined that it is a legal use. They cannot be excluded completely from any municipality. A municipality is something like a township or a city or a borough, whatever it's called, it's a local government unit. Likewise, injection wells are a legal use in Pennsylvania. And so every municipality must have a spot somewhere in its municipality where one could be placed. There are regulations that can be put into place. That is an ordinance, and that determines, exactly, what zone a particular use can be placed in. But if you don't have an ordinance that deals specifically with injection wells, then an operator can put it anywhere they want. So they could possibly locate a well in a residential area or in a commercial area if they can find the land, or in an agricultural area. They could put it anywhere without a zoning ordinance that deals with injection wells. They can locate an injection well within 500 feet of schools or hospitals, daycares, or nursing homes, which could be very dangerous, especially for elderly people or very young children. They can operate the well all day and all night without any kind of regulation, and they can construct the facility wherever they want without regard to the characteristics of the neighborhood where the well is located. Ordinarily, um, a community would like to keep the industrial uses that it has in its municipality in an area all together with all the other industrial uses. They'd rather not have an industrial use, say, right in the middle of a group of townhomes or a residential area or in their commercial district downtown. They'd rather locate those heavy industrial uses all together in one place so that they don't disturb the other uses that are also necessary. And the injection well is an industrial use. Next slide, please. So this happened in Plum Borough, in fact. Plum Borough didn't have an injection well ordinance. And back in 2017, they found out that Pennico, which had some property and some conventional wells in Plum Borough, was desirous of installing an injection well in the middle of Plum. So in 2017, the EPA, which controls injection wells as part of its duties, conducted a public hearing. Dozens of residents spoke out against the well at that hearing. The EPA, as they often do, permitted the injection well despite the public outcry. In 2018, the EPA approved the permit and then passed it along to the Department of Environmental Protections, which is the Pennsylvania environmental entity. The Environmental Protection Agency is federal. The Department of Environmental Protection is state-based. In 2020, the DEP permitted the first injection well, and the Plum Borough officials appealed it to the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County and later to the Commonwealth Court, but at some point they did drop it, and the company Penneco built the injection well and started injecting the liquid waste from fracking into the ground. Residents almost immediately began experiencing the impacts in the form of noise, odors, irritants in the air, disturbance of their water supply. Some people who had well water noticed that their water began to smell funny. Others noticed that their water became cloudy and undrinkable. And they complained quite a bit to the Plum Borough supervisors, but the Plum Borough could not do anything about it at that point. In 2022, Penneco filed an application to expand the injection well that they had there. The injection well is called the Sadat 3A. They wanted to put in a second injection well, which was called the Sadat 4A. And between the time that the first injection well was installed in Plum Borough, Plum Borough officials enacted an ordinance dealing with injection wells, where they could be located, the setbacks that were required for the injection well, the level of noise that they could emit, and various other things pertaining to the injection well and the placement of injection wells within their municipality. And that ordinance proved to be very effective. In 2022, however, the Plum Borough Zoning Hearing Board, over the objections of residents and over the objection of their own board of commissioners, and over the objections of Protect PT, who intervened in the case, the zoning hearing board approved a second injection well, stating quite explicitly that they didn't think that they had any choice and that they believed that they would be sued by Penneco and that they would lose. So they approved the second injection well. Next slide, please. So in 2022, after the approval by the zoning hearing board, Protect PT and Plum Borough, the commissioners, appealed the grant of the permit to the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Whenever there is an action by a municipality, if the zoning hearing board or the board of commissioners takes an action that some party disapproves of, the first level of appeal is to the Court of Common Pleas, and this was taken to the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas, where Judge James affirmed the grant of the permit to Penneco. So effectively, Protect PT and Plum Borough lost the appeal at that level. In 2023, after the Allegheny County Court ruled in favor of Penneco, Protect PT and Plum Borough appealed to the Commonwealth Court. After briefing and a hearing in the matter, the borough and Protect PT prevailed. The Commonwealth Court reversed the ruling of the Court of Common Pleas, and the matter was remanded or sent all the way back to the Zoning Hearing Board for additional findings of fact and conclusions of law. And the findings of fact and conclusions of law are what the Zoning Hearing Board or a board of commissioners holding a hearing on a particular permit would write in support of either granting a permit or denying a permit. Well, in this case, at the zoning hearing board on remand, that is after it was sent back, the Plum Borough Zoning Hearing Board uh, found as a matter of fact that the proposed location of the well did not meet the setback requirements that were in the new ordinance. They found that the well would be harmful to the health and the welfare of the residents, that the truck traffic generated by the expansion would negatively impact the residents in the area, and that the expansion of the injection well would change the character of the neighborhood. Based on those findings and several others, the Plum Borough Zoning Hearing Board denied the permit to Pennico. So Pennico cannot expand its single injection well to an additional injection well called Sadat 4A. Pennico may appeal this to the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County. We're not sure. The time has not come yet for that appeal to be filed, but it will be shortly. Next slide, please.
All right, so now I'll talk a little bit about other elements of Protect PT's advocacy in Westmoreland County and beyond, and some of the resources that we're able to offer municipalities like Plum, which include fact sheets and educational materials. We have this injection well ordinance guideline fact sheet, which we can distribute to any municipal leaders or concerned residents. And we also have in the injection well threat map, and we've taken snapshots of that map of pretty much every municipality in Westmoreland County. So we're able to distribute that to a municipality as well to show them specifically the potential sites in their community. We can assist with fracking ordinance development as we did in Penn Township. We can assist with injection well ordinance development, which we've done in many places that I listed before, and now Upper Borough as well. We've engaged in legal advocacy and we've held community meetings. And so we'll also be sending out these slides to all of the registrants for this webinar. So you'll be able to access the link. The fact sheet is linked up there, and the image of it is also a clickable link. So you'll be able to access the PDF of that and keep it as a resource.
So what are the elements of a protective ordinance? Uh, one of the main ways to do it is to restrict that use, that is injection wells, to industrial zones. If you have a zoning ordinance, you will have divided your municipality up into different zones. Often there's an industrial zone, there's a commercial zone, there's a residential zone. Um, it varies from place to place, and it's based on the needs of the community. So it's very important to have a zoning ordinance, and it's very important to have an ordinance that deals specifically with injection wells. One of the main things you could do is restrict that use to industrial zones, keeping it away from residential areas, hospitals, daycares, etc. You want to provide for adequate setbacks from protected structures such as homes, schools, and daycare centers. And a setback is really just the distance between where the well bore is and, say, a school is. So if a setback is 500 feet, then one could put an injection well within 500 feet of a school. If the setback is 2,500 feet, the the operator could not put an injection well within 2,500 feet. And obviously, the greater the distance that the injection well is from protected structures, a protected structure is one where human beings go from time to time. The further away that it is, the more protected it is for the residents. The Another element should be regulated is the truck traffic. It should be regulated by the truck route and the time of day. Trucks are very noisy. They can be very dangerous. Trucks that are operating during, say, school bus hours can pose hazards to school children, to the buses driving on the roads. And these are generally speaking rural roads. They can also be dangerous to children who are waiting by the side of the road for school buses. It's also important to not have the truck traffic occur at night because that would really disturb the residents' sleep patterns, which is known to be unhealthy. Also, testing and controlling the contents of the wastewater to be injected. There are a lot of chemicals that are in fracking water. Many of them you don't want to have in your municipality. You can prohibit certain chemicals from being injected, and perhaps prevent radioactivity as well. It's important to require the operator to obtain liability insurance and a bond. Liability insurance is just what it says. It's the kind of insurance that you have on your automobile. So in case you were to become involved in an accident, the insurance company would pay for whatever damages you caused because of your car wreck. Same for injection wells. If there's a spill, if there's an explosion, if there is some accident that happens at the well site, there is an insurance company to back up the injection well operator and pay for whatever damages occur to the neighbors, to the municipality, to the environment. And a bond is important because these are very big industrial operations. You've seen pictures of them earlier on in the slideshow. Once the ground is filled up with as much waste fluid as it can possibly take, there's no more money to be made from that injection well, but it's still an environmental hazard because of all the sediments that are in the holding tanks, because of all the pipes, because of all the various machinery that's used to inject the water at high pressure, and all that needs to be cleaned up. Oftentimes, and we see this all the time in conventional gas wells, especially here in Pennsylvania. Once the well is dry, the operator of the well has no incentive to put money back into a well that is not going to produce any more money for the operator. Likewise, if an operator of an injection well can no longer make money from the well because no more liquid could be injected into it and they can't take that wastewater, there's very little incentive for them to clean up the mess that they've made. Well, if they have an insurance company that has produced a bond, if the injection well operator scoots out on cleanup, the bond is there to pay for the cleanup in the municipality, and the taxpayers aren't stuck with the bill. It's important to ask the operator for a 10-year development plan because oftentimes they may have other plans beyond just this simple injection well. They may want to expand it to 2 or 3 or 4 injection wells, and that's important for the municipality to know before the first one goes in. And finally, it's important to set penalties for violations. Every municipality is classed under the Pennsylvania state statutes, and depending on how your municipality is classed, whether it's say a township of the first class or a township of the second class or a city of the second class, you are able to set penalties for violations. You should make those penalties close to the maximum that is allowed under the statute and enforce those penalties if and when there is a violation. So it's very difficult to have a model zoning ordinance because every municipality is very different. They have different needs, they have different structures, and one size definitely doesn't fit all. But the provisions that we talked about just now are important to include in any zoning ordinance that is developed for your particular municipality. Next slide. So in Clara Township, that is up in Potter County in northern Pennsylvania. It is very, very rural up there, very pristine, in fact. It is around what we call the triple divide, meaning that the area is a watershed for 3 different watersheds. Water that falls in Clara Township may travel to the Hudson Bay, it may travel to the Chesapeake Bay, or it may travel down to the Allegheny River into the Gulf of Mexico because of its particular location and the slope of its land. It has high value streams, which are a classification by the Department of Environmental Protection, meaning that they're pristine. They have native trout species. A lot of anglers go there to fish, and there's a lot of hunters up there that go there to hunt because of its relatively pristine nature. There was an operator who sought to put an injection well right in the middle of Clara Township, in the middle of these pristine woods. The supervisors in Clara Township found out about it, and they called us for assistance, and we assisted them in developing an ordinance that contained protections around injection wells and how they can be used and how they can be implemented. And as a result, after this was implemented by Clara Township, the operator determined that they didn't want to comply with the regulations that were in the ordinance, and they abandoned their quest to get an injection well and put it there. You can go to the link in this slideshow, and it will pull up this ordinance. It contains a lot of the provisions that we had talked about in the previous slide, that is setbacks, truck routes, noise, uh, I, inventorying what the chemicals that would be injected into the ground and limiting them, excluding radioactive material. All these things can be found in this ordinance, and we would invite you to take a look at it yourself in your own time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. Next slide, please.
So just a reminder, we're here to help. And if you are a concerned resident or municipal leader, please reach out to us. We will work with you to give you advice to craft an ordinance tailored to your specific concerns and your community's specific attributes and needs. And we invite you to share this information with any communities or municipalities that may need it. Thank you for coming. That's all for today. We have our communication information up on the screen. And so if you'd like to give our office a call, the office phone number is up there. And we also have our emails available. Feel free to reach out at any time.
Thanks very much.